What's up, everybody? Welcome into this Week 18 recap edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. It was a wild Sunday night football game, JP. We're going to get to that in a second. On today's show, though, we're going to recap a little bit of the rest of Week 18. Not much to get to today outside of that Sunday night football game. But then we're going to go through and we're going to preview all the wild card slate, give our first reactions, react to what the lines are from each, and get to that. But let's get to Sunday Night Football, JP, where the Steelers hang on for a 26-24 win. The big number from this one, it is 0. That was the amount of misses that Tyler Loop had from under 50 in his career before that final miss. Chris Boswell, heck, he had only 2 missed extra points the previous 4 years. It was a kickoff at the end. And, well, the Steelers come out on top. They are your AFC North champions.
Neither of these teams deserve to make the playoff, if I'm going to be so honest with you. But we had to – one of them had to be in. And I think the Steelers, for all of their warts and for everything that is wrong with them, I think in this game it kind of showcased some of what Aaron Rodgers can do at this stage of his career. I mean, he made a couple of really nice throws. The throw down the seam to Freiermuth was really nice. There was one on a slot fade to Adam Thielen that was a beautiful pass. But outside of that, like the biggest thing that he did was every time the Ravens would try and get into their disguises, they're trying to get to those exotic looks that they like to run before dropping into some different coverage, Aaron Rodgers would quick count them. He would get up to the line and snap the ball quickly because the Ravens are trying to communicate to what they're seeing so they can adjust their protection, and Rodgers just wasn't letting them do it. Now, it did catch them as like a backfiring because the Steelers ended up burning like 3 timeouts because they want to try and get them jumping off sides, which never do that again.
That was peak Aaron Rodgers. Burning 3 timeouts. I mean, if you watch Aaron Rodgers, follow Aaron Rodgers closely with Packers at all, you know he was the king of burning timeouts well before you needed to call them. And also trying to go to the hard count, like you said. So, like, that was just Aaron Rodgers distilled. That was a perfect way for his career to end if that were to have been it. But obviously, they win that one.
It's such a fitting way for the Ravens season to end on a busted coverage touchdown. Lamar coming back to save this team with 2 superhero plays. The touchdown to Zay Flowers, the first one, was just a bonkers play where the Steelers catch the Ravens in they're trying to slide a protection to the right. They end up dropping both Highsmith and TJ Watt off the edge and bringing the nickel. He comes in free. Daniel Falele doesn't touch anybody on the play. There are 2 guys meeting at Lamar Jackson, which should be a sack. And Lamar breaks out of it. Patrick Queen ends up having to run with Zay Flowers. He's open down the middle of the field. An awesome play. Then the touchdown, the second touchdown to Zay Flowers, actually beautiful design by Todd Monken.
Yes,
but the Isaiah Likely play, like that was the perfect end for what had been a really rough season for Isaiah Likely. But the Ravens' failure to, I guess, like we said it before, like their lack of focus in big moments, in critical moments. It's the illegal formation where Ronnie Stanley is lined up too far into the backfield. Missed kick from Tyler Loop. Tyler Loop also kicked the ball out of bounds, which led to that on that game-winning drive for the Steelers. It's just all those moments, the coverage busts, the missed tackles. They were awful tackling in the second half against the Steelers. It's all of those, which is why the Ravens aren't in the playoffs and why John Harbaugh's seat is probably on fire right now.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we think big changes are afoot in the Baltimore Ravens, whether it's front office, whether it's moving Lamar? Do we think that this is going to be a drastically different looking football team next fall?
I think it is, but I think it means Harbaugh is gone. It means maybe if Harbaugh's gone, it depends on what happens with the rest of the offensive staff. Maybe they take other jobs. Zach Orr's probably gone at the end of the with this season being over, but it feels like John Harbaugh's tenure as the Ravens head coach is up because again, they don't show up in those big moments, and they're too talented of a team at quarterback and other skill positions to end up missing out on the playoffs because of a missed kick.
I wonder how much, and we talked about this with the Falcons, obviously already moving out from Raheem Morris and targeting maybe Kevin Stefanski as their next head coach. I wonder how much musical chairs we'll see at head coach where guys get fired and then are immediately back at the top in terms of like, because if they fire John Harbaugh, a lot of people will be beating down the door to have John Harbaugh, be their head coach next year. Just the stability that he's had at that organization from his tenure, and obviously a Super Bowl winning head coach. A lot of franchises around the NFL would sign up for that. Obviously, though, I mean, like Andy Reid in Philadelphia, sometimes your message runs stale, and sometimes it is just time. It kind of does feel that way, in my opinion, for Harbaugh and the Ravens.
It does. And it sucks that this is the way that it ends, but sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror and realize what's wrong with the team, and it might end up being the head coach and the coaching issues that they've had through this entire season.
I'm pissed though. I'm pissed this ended this way because one, we don't get Lamar playoff discourse, and Lamar's playoff discourse is always a treat. You always get someone saying the dumbest thing possible, and it just takes over the airways for the week prior and the week after, whatever he inevitably loses. So we don't get Lamar playoff discourse. And two, I'm stuck watching Aaron Rodgers make that stupid face with his arms up in the air, acting like someone else screwed up like 5 times a game. It's my least favorite thing in football right now.
It's so annoying. And like the Steelers offense is not good enough. Aaron Rodgers is not good enough to keep blaming everybody else. Like I said, he had the quick count plays. He had a couple of nice throws here and there, but the missed throw to Jonnu Smith was atrocious in the first half. I mean, he sailed him by like 10 yards. I don't even think Calvin Johnson's getting that ball. Then you had the scramble in the first half where it's like 3rd and 8 and Tavius Robinson runs him down. That one I kind of felt sad because it felt like my entire childhood was just like gone in an instant. Rodgers not being able to make that scramble. And I'm just like, man, we're realizing like all of our guys are getting old now, but you're not that good right now to keep yelling at everybody else. You have to make the plays.
What happened to Zen Rodgers? What happened to ayahuasca? I thought he had like a new outlook on life. That lasted maybe 3 years. His outlook is back to blaming everyone else. And unfortunately, there's a lot of blame to go around in that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. We'll see, though. We're going to talk about them facing the Texans in the next block. Anything else you wanted to hit here from Sunday? We had Myles Garrett breaking the sack record. We had the Panthers sneaking back into the playoffs despite not playing today and losing yesterday. Anything catch your eye, JP?
So I want to talk about Myles Garrett breaking the sack record because the play that he broke the sack record on was perfect. It was a perfect encapsulation of what Myles Garrett is.
Was.
1st and 10, he's off the ball in 0.23 seconds, which is the fastest get off of any player this season. And that'd be impressive for any defensive player. It'd be impressive for like Micah Parsons or Nick Bonito. But Micah Parsons and Nick Bonito are both maybe around 250, 245 pounds. Myles Garrett is doing this at 280. Like, I just don't think people understand how much of a freak athlete Myles Garrett is to get to the top of the rush, to time up the pass rush the way he did with Orlando Brown Jr.'s pass set, which Mitchell Schwartz actually put out a great tweet saying like Myles Garrett is reading Orlando Brown Jr.'s movement, and he moves as soon as Orlando Brown Jr. gets the step, which means like for most offensive tackles, they do that. The Jawan Taylor, where they try and get a little bit of a false start, like a legal false start. But Myles Garrett is already moving by the time that Orlando Brown Jr. is getting that step. So you basically nullified any advantage that you get. And then at the top of the pass rush, being able to flip your hips, flatten the corner, and bend at, again, 280 pounds. It would be impressive if Micah Parsons, Nick Bonito, Brian Burns did it, but they're all like 30 to 40 pounds lighter than Myles Garrett. And he's doing this on a team that doesn't really play a lot of positions where they're obviously dropping back. The opponent is obviously dropping back. It's one of the most incredible seasons of all time. And I think Myles Garrett is the best edge of this generation.
Yeah, I saw, even though it was 17 games and Strahan did it in 16, he actually did it on far fewer rushes than even Strahan, than even TJ Watt. Like he not a lot of people are passing against Cleveland Browns because one, you don't want to because Myles Garrett's on the other side, and two, you didn't have to. A lot of times you were playing with leads when you're playing the Cleveland Browns. So definitely, I don't think anyone has been at this level as an edge rusher that he's at right now. I just have not seen it with my eyes. Say maybe some old heads can talk to me about LT in his prime, but I'd be hard pressed to think it was anything like what Myles Garrett is, just based off of conditioning, training methods, and the freak that is Myles Garrett. I want to talk about, though, the Giants, because the Giants went from, with a win over the Cowboys today, the number 1 overall pick, if they would have lost that game, to the number 5 overall pick. And I saw this, and I can't believe it's true. Of their last 30 games, this is from Tom Sabelli, Barstool Sports. Of their last 38 games, they are 8-30. The New York Giants are. 4 of those 8 wins, well, they've come in week 17 or 18 after they've already been eliminated, including the past 2 weeks where they would have just lost either of those 2 games. They have the number 1 overall pick. They have what would be the biggest lottery ticket imaginable in the NFL. It's kind of like the best thing to hold is the number 1 overall pick in a draft class where there's a quarterback that people want at number 1 overall and a lot of suitors for it. They could have easily secured, not only the number 5 overall pick where they're at, but probably 2 or 3 other first round picks if they were to have just lost one of the past 2 games. They could not do either. And so here they are sitting at number 5.
I think the point that you made about getting that number 1 pick and being able to trade it back is the biggest thing. This is not us saying like they're going to go pick a quarterback if they get number 1 overall, but the fact that you can use that number 1 overall pick to go and get more picks from teams like the Browns or the Jets, like you can go and get multiple first round picks to set up your rebuild in a time where you need it, like you're just going to need an offensive, you're probably going to need a right tackle, probably going to need another receiver. You might need more help in the secondary. There's so many things that the Giants need that getting that number 1 overall pick would have been able to kind of help you jumpstart that process. But it's just tough, especially the way that they won. They won decisively over the last couple of weeks. It's like, man, like you wish you could have done this earlier in the season and things might have been different. But now that you're putting it together at the end, it feels sort of hollow.
We were on HQ together, and I talked about the Chiefs game, and I was like, I wanted the Chiefs to throw it because, I thought with the Giants, playing the Cowboys, if both teams went at full strength, that obviously, Cowboys were the better team this year. I thought the Giants would lose. And so for the Chiefs' perspective, it would be taking a potential franchise quarterback away from them. Well, it turns out that's what the Cowboys ended up doing. They pulled their starters after like a quarter, and they said, hey, go take it, Giants. Like, you could have this game because – and it was smart by them. They don't want them getting the number 1 overall pick, having this lottery ticket. So I didn't really quite – I'm like, I wasn't watching that game. It wasn't one of the main ones on for obvious reasons. But I'm like, they pulled Dak. That's interesting. And I thought about it for a second more. I'm like, oh, wait, they don't actually want the Giants to get that number 1 overall pick either.
I was pissed because, one of my locks was Dak Prescott's over on passing yards, and they took him out in the first quarter. I'm like, why is Joe Milton in the game? Like, I wish they would have told me about this beforehand.
Yeah, you didn't get deep into the psyche there enough. And so you lost 2 of yours, unfortunately. You had Dak's over, and you had a George Pickens anytime tutty that didn't end up hitting because they both get pulled. All right. There's Sunday recap. Obviously, a lot of laughers in week 18. So no need to go through all of them. We're going to take a quick break. After that, we're going to get to the playoff brackets. Going to go through game by game, give the lines, over-unders, initial thoughts on all of them coming up right after this.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
No, that is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, AFC, as it shook out, the 1 seed is the Denver Broncos with their win over the Chargers today. 2 seeds the Patriots, 3 is the Jaguars, 4 ends up being the Steelers, and then your wild cards in order, Texans, Bills, Chargers. That means Texans travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers, and they're favored 2.5 points. 39.5 points is the over-under. And my biggest takeaway from seeing those numbers, That's way too low. This Texans team, I think, is going to pants the Steelers on the road.
The biggest thing that I'm really excited for is watching this Texans defensive line against what has been a pretty good Steelers offensive front, especially up when they're in the run game. But man, I just feel like this Texans defense is going to take it to them. The biggest reason why, Aaron Rodgers still has enough arm strength to throw it deep. But the reason they don't throw the ball deep a lot is because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like getting hit. Now you combine that with a Texans pass rush that's going to get after anybody. Aaron Rodgers might have like a 1 second time to throw in this game. He is not going to throw any passes downfield. He's not going to hold the ball longer than 2.5 seconds because he does not want to get hit by this Texans pass rush. So the biggest thing is going to be, can the Texans tackle in space, which they have been incredibly good at this season. This is a bad matchup for the Steelers offensively. But on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like the Steelers pass rush can give CJ Stroud and this Texans offense a little bit of problems. And if you're able to if you're willing to live with Joey Porter Jr. on an island against Nico Collins, or if you're willing to double Nico Collins, maybe you can pull out a win at home. It'd be a little weird, but I just think the Texans are kind of going to hammer them.
Yeah, I just don't see the Steelers moving the ball, even if, obviously DK Metcalf comes back to the playoffs, but I think they just let Derek Stingley run with him, and I think that's a win for the Texans.
You could even play Lassiter on him.
Yeah, I don't think either corner that's like a big mismatch, him coming back. And then it's Dylan Cook against Danielle Hunter. It's Dylan Cook against Will Anderson. It's like you're gonna have to scheme around that all game long. I just don't see the Steelers scoring much. And then on the flip side, I think the Steelers have enough to get after the Texans offense. I think that's the biggest thing they wanted to avoid, was a real pass rush. I think they probably would have rather seen the Ravens because of that. But even still, I just think the Texans team has been too good of late. Obviously, come into this, the hottest team in the NFL, winners of 9 straight. I just don't see that changing, even if it's on the road.
Yeah, I just think that Aaron Rodgers' propensity for not wanting to get hit is going to sort of neuter this game plan. And without Darnell Washington, you really sort of lose a little bit of the explosives or the ability to win after the catch that you really need if you're not going to throw the ball downfield. And with DK Metcalf's water sort of being shut off potentially by the Texans secondary, I just don't know how they're going to move the ball.
Bills travel to Jacksonville, face the Jaguars. Bills, another road favorite here in the AFC, even though the Jaguars are probably the hottest team, one of the hottest teams entering the playoffs in years, actually. Winners of 8 straight. They have the biggest point differential over the final 8 games of the season, plus 153 since 2019, when the Baltimore Ravens came into the playoffs hot, 14-2 Ravens that year. It's a 51.5 point over under. This one surprised me, I will say, because a lot of this, I feel like just matchups wise, favors the Jags. Truly the only thing the Bills have, but not say the only thing. They're a good football team. But the only reason it's 1.5 is just Josh Allen. Like, that's it, right? It is just Josh Allen and banking on him going superhuman.
I'm kind of fighting the urge to say it because I don't want to put the energy out into the universe, because I know if I say it, then it's not going to happen. But the fact that the Bills are favored in this game is kind of crazy to me, because like you said, if this is a strength on strength game, it's the Bills run game against the best run defense in the NFL in Jacksonville. Their ability to stop the run on the inside. They've sort of lacked in pass rush from the defensive tackle spot, but with Eric Armstead, Devon Hamilton's played really well, and their ability to stop the run, if you put the Bills into second and third and longs, and you can let that pass rush, which Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown have been great, but they've also been God at times. And I think the Jaguars have really started to find their stride as a defense. I really think they can cause them a little bit of problems on that side of the ball. And then offensively, I just don't think the Bills can run with this Jaguars team. I just don't think they have the horses, especially if Ed Oliver doesn't play in this game. If you don't have that pass rush juice flowing from the interior, which is where the Jaguars are weakest when it comes to pass protection, I just feel like Trevor Lawrence is going to have all day to make a lot of good passes.
Yeah, I mean, I am right there with you. I think this Jags team has turned a leaf. I think the 8-game winning streak is indicative of the offense that's gotten out of their own way. Right? We harped on it so much early on in the season, how much it just seemed like they could not help but shoot themselves in the foot. We didn't harp on that the second half of the season, right? Like we kind of stopped saying that because it kind of got a lot better, as this team just absorbed more of Liam Cohen's offense, as guys like Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, more of your reliable players on that offense got featured more. That stuff went away, and that stuff goes away. It's just, they have a lot of options offensively. They just truly do. And I think the way that I would say to beat this Jacksonville Jaguars team, what you would need is a really ferocious front four to really give them problems. Bills don't have that. If Ed Oliver's not playing, they do not have that right now.
And the thing that the Bills do, because they don't really have that pass rush, is they play a lot of man coverage and they'll spy a quarterback. They'll play really aggressive spies. But the Jaguars have beaten man coverage really well this season. They've gone over the top. They've used a lot of screen game. They've used their speed in space, whether it's Brenton Strange, whether it's Brian Thomas Jr. downfield. You get Parker Washington in space. You get ETN. Bashal Tutin is now back. They just have too many options on that side of the ball. So again, I sort of feel like the Jags at home, the last time the Bills and the Jags played a playoff game at home, the score was 10-3 and the Jaguars won. I don't think this game is ending 10-3. I think there will be much more points, but if you force this Bills team onto the back foot, if you can get out to a lead early and force them to play from behind, you got a shot, because you're gonna have to force the Bills to play through their receivers. You got to force them to try and feed the ball to Brandon Cooks or Josh Palmer or Gabe Davis. If this is a Josh Palmer game, okay, fine. But you cannot let this be a James Cook and they're just going to run the ball 50 times and just shorten the game.
Yeah, and I don't think that happens. Jags have been too good against the run for that to happen. So we'll see. And we're both like the Jags, though. All right, last game in the AFC. It is Chargers at Patriots, the only home fave in the AFC. And it's the Patriots by 3.5 only. Kind of a tight one. 45.5 points is the over-under. I had to put some notes, or I guess stats, to this Patriots team, though, because it is one of the truly craziest 14-3 seasons I've ever seen. Now, obviously, a double-digit difference from last year wins, but they had the easiest strength of schedule in 26 years in the NFL. That's like before the NFL has tried to do away with this, with how they've gone about scheduling. They faced 2 teams with winning records all season long. They beat one of them in the Buffalo Bills, and they lost to the Buffalo Bills also. So they really have only one win against a team with a winning record, and also lost to that same team. They played the Bengals without Joe Burrow. They played the Bucs without Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. They played the Ravens with Lamar going down mid-game. They played the Jets with Brady Cook. They played the Dolphins with Quinn Ewers. They played the Saints with Spencer Rattler. Like, this schedule that they had, if this was the college football playoff, they wouldn't be in. They would be out. Like, the committee would have said, go home. It truly, like, how easy a road they had it to get here is crazy. So when they face a team like the Chargers, it's like they're 14-3. Shouldn't they be? It's like, I still don't know how good this Patriots team is. I just don't.
So I think if I'm going to push back a little bit on the strength of schedule, I do think we have to adjust for the Patriots shouldn't be here. Like, the Patriots should not be a 14-win team. Like, this team has outperformed their schedule. Like, they had the easiest schedule because they won 4 games last season, and even this team still is not very complete. You know, you're still relying on Stephon Diggs to be your wide receiver one. This offensive line has started to gel lately, especially with Will Campbell coming back, but there's really not much outside of Drake May's drastic improvement that really is like you can point to and be like, that's why that team went to 13 wins instead of 4. I mean, Milton Williams, who I think is going to be the biggest X factor in this game, with him being healthy, I'm curious how the Chargers game plan against Milton Williams, because the Patriots don't really have that superstar or like immediate juice as a pass rusher on the outside. Kayvon Chaisson shows up in spurts, but again, if you're willing to let Kayvon Chaisson beat you, I think you make that bet. But I think that there are so many fascinating matchups within this game on both sides of the ball. I think for the Chargers defense, can they defend the run in base? That has been their biggest issue this season. The Patriots love to get into 21, 22. It is Josh McDaniels football. They housed a couple of plays against the Dolphins today, just running power. And I think that that's going to be the biggest thing, where if the Chargers can't defend the run when they're in base, when they're in their big personnel, it's going to get a little scary. But I also think there are going to be opportunities to attack this team, because if Milton Williams isn't getting after it as a pass rusher, who are you going to go win and go get you a bucket in those scenarios?
That's the thing. The Patriots are about as poorly equipped as anyone in the AFC to take advantage of what we talked about all year long with Chargers. The lack of offensive tackles. The fact that they're on 2 backup, third string offensive tackles there trying to protect Justin Herbert. I did lament that we don't get Lamar discourse, but I am going to cherish the Herbert discourse, because, as you may not know, he has not won a playoff game. And in his 2 playoff games, he won. First one, blew a 27-0 lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. And the second one, well, he threw 4 interceptions against the Houston Texans. So, still searching for that elusive first playoff win. I think this is my favorite matchup of the weekend, because it's 2 teams that I really have not, I think, 2 teams that I've had the most trouble really finding out how good they are, because I look at both their rosters, and like you said, the Patriots aren't a 14-win roster to me. The Chargers aren't a 12-win roster to me. These are 11-win roster to me. These are average rosters to above average rosters that have gotten buoyed by high-end quarterbacks, high-end coaching staffs. They have outperformed what is on the football field week in and week out. Now they're meeting each other. And so I think it's really going to be, I guess, a great litmus test for if these teams if either of them can really make a statement win here and say, yeah, we can be Super Bowl contender. We should be considered right there with the top of the AFC.
That's really the biggest thing. You made a really good point with these teams sort of being mirror images of each other. They've outperformed their roster. They've outperformed many expectations for them this season. Part of it is because their quarterback play has been really good. I know what you're going to say about Justin Herbert, but he's been really good this season. But they've also had incredible coaching and timely plays from a lot of their players on both sides of the ball. With the Chargers, you've gotten big plays from Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnson has taken a big step. Arondi Gadsden has come up with big plays. And for the Patriots, we've talked about their guys. Kayshon Boutte making big plays. You get Stephon Diggs making big catches downfield. Hunter Henry has been incredibly reliable. But I do think this game is going to come down to which defensive player can make the biggest impact. If this is going to be a game where Milton Williams takes over against a really weak Chargers offensive line, like you could see the Chargers really having problems there. But on the other side of the ball, I don't think Drake May has seen a defense of this caliber this season, outside of maybe Cleveland. Like this might be the best defense that Drake May has faced this season, because they're so good communicating. They don't really allow explosive passes. They're going to force Drake May to eat his vegetables and take a quick game, take the check down. I'm curious to see if Drake May can make some plays with his legs. Will they use Deion Henley to spy him? This is one of the most fascinating matchups of the weekend, because the chess match between both sides of the ball is going to be huge.
Yeah, the Browns were the only top 10 defense that the Patriots faced all season. The next best defense they faced was the New Orleans Saints, actually. So it's been quite the go. We'll see if that leads to an MVP for Drake May, and we'll see if that leads to a win for them. I don't know. This is I'm not picking this one. I'm just like straight up. I have no clue how this game's going to go. I'm just excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun film guy game. Like if you're a real big like film watcher, this is going to be a game that you're going to go back and watch like the end zone. This is going to be a great end zone tape game. To watch Justin Herbert and Drake May from the end zone view, this is going to be your end zone tape Super Bowl.
Great. That's spot on take. I love that. And I don't think it'd be surprising if we saw a coordinator from this game be head coach next year out because of it. All right. We'll take a quick break. After that, we're going to get to the NFC. Right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, NFC playoff bracket. The number 1 seed, your Seattle Seahawks. Number 2 seed, Chicago Bears. 3, Eagles. 4, Panthers. And then your wild cards, the Rams, 49ers, and Packers. In that order, that means Rams traveling to the Panthers on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. 46.5 points is the over-under. And my gosh, it is a 10.5 point spread already for the Rams on the road. I think that's the biggest I can remember, at least like since betting became popular for a road team in the playoffs. But it's apt because the Panthers have the 3rd worst point differential of any division champion ever, -69. Ironically, though, the 2 teams worst, 2010 Seahawks, 2011 Broncos, they both won playoff games. And the Panthers, last time around against the Los Angeles Rams, they beat them 31-28. I went back and I wanted to highlight the craziness that had to happen for that game. You had Matt Stafford throwing the ball off a defensive lineman's helmet, I believe, in the end zone for an interception. You had Mike Jackson having a pick 6 in that game. You had a 33-yard touchdown from Jalen Coker on 4th down, and you had a 43-yard touchdown from Teteroa McMillan on a 4th down. Any of those 4 things don't happen. And the Panthers do not win that football game. All 4 things happen. They won that football game, and that's why the Rams could not be the 1 seed. But here we are. How do we see it going?
It is so funny that it took the Panthers going 8-9 and winning the division to keep the Texans off of the 4:30 Saturday slate.
They're home.
It took Bryce Young and the Atlanta Falcons coming together and creating the funniest thing that I've seen in the NFL in possibly like my entire life for the Texans to not be playing on 4:30 p.m. on CBS on a Saturday. That has been where they've occupied for the last 2 or 3 years. So congrats to them. But I actually think there is a path to success for the Panthers.
No,
I'm not saying that they're going to win, but for them to win this game, the Rams DBs have struggled against size this season.
Yeah.
Like you have seen bigger receivers give them problems. AJ Brown gave them a lot of problems. You know, we just saw Michael Wilson have another great game against the Rams defensive backs. Jalen Coker is a big dude. Teteroa McMillan, obviously a big dude. So these guys, I think the biggest thing why Bryce Young had such a great day and made those passes because Jalen Coker 6'3", 215. Teteroa McMillan 6'4", 215, 220. Emmanuel Forbes and Roger McCreary or Othello Witherspoon, they're gonna get bodied at the catch point. So if they're gonna win this game, I think you gotta I hate to say it like this, you gotta spam 50-50 balls. Just throw them, see what happens, because you have to live on that variance even when the Rams lost that game, even though they had 3 interceptions, they had a 61% success rate on offense. It truly took playing in a monsoon and just Matthew Stafford forgetting how to throw a football for them to lose that game. I think you got to lean into the variance and make this a chaos game.
I will say I think the Panthers can move the ball. But I think they are going to have a whale of a time stopping the Rams offense right now. I think that's the biggest thing, is that if they are to win, if you like the Panthers in this one, I would parlay it with the over too, because it's going to mean points around the board. It's going to mean that 46.5 points just it's blown out the water, because like last time when they won 31-28, they're going to have to put up 30 plus if they're going to win this football game. Let's get 49ers Eagles. Eagles 3.5-point favorites. 46.5 points is the over under. This is your Sunday 4:30 p.m. Eastern game.
So you said Patriots Chargers is your favorite matchup of the week. This is mine. I am so morbidly curious in this game. And I'm not watching for the Niners defense against the Eagles offense. That's like coughing baby versus coughing baby. The Niners offense against this Eagles defense is going to be one of the best matchups of the week. This is sort of what I was hoping to get when we got these, when we found out which teams were making the playoffs, because the way that Kyle Shanahan has been able to manufacture a ground game and been able to create explosives on the ground without having a lot of their offensive linemen in the game, they've really done a good job of generating those explosive runs, which has then opened up a lot of avenues for Brock Purdy's explosive passing. And they've been able to be super good on offense, even without, having Brandon Ayuk. You have Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey are your top 3 receivers. But against this Eagles defense, where the biggest thing for Philadelphia is you cannot run the ball on them. I think there are opportunities to attack the second corner if you wanted to. You can create some plays off schedule if you're Brock Purdy, but you cannot run the ball on this Eagles team because they are so strong through the defensive tackles with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I think the matchup there is going to be so fascinating because Vic Fangio has leaned a little bit more into man coverage. They've played a little bit more on the front foot this year and tried to force teams to really adjust to them instead of them sort of sitting back and rallying and tackling. I really am excited to see how Kyle Shanahan attacks what might be like the Monstars on defense.
See, I'm more excited for the flip side. Not
Really?
to say excited. I mean, obviously, what Kyle Shanahan's going to do is going to be far more impressive. I'm more just intrigued to see if the Eagles have life in them offensively. When you look up and down the roster of the Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's not too dissimilar from the team that started dismantling everyone the last, second half of the season and into the playoffs offensively. Their defense was great. Obviously, big part of why they won the Super Bowl, but like they were in the Super Bowl and a championship game, they were killing people. Like they had answers for everything seemingly, and just could do no wrong. That has never showed up. I feel like the Eagles offense, it doesn't matter who they play. It looks the same regardless. And even a 49ers defense that has the fewest sacks in the NFL, that can't get after, like, I'm not sure it's going to look any different. That's I think what I want to see is if we see signs of life from the Eagles offense, because they are still the sleeping giant in the NFC. They do have as much, if not more talent still than anyone else in that conference. It's just been a comedy of errors, specifically offensively, that has made them look very, very beatable, but they're at home and the talent is still there for them.
I agree with you, especially on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. I know we keep saying it and we're going to keep hammering it, but if the Eagles can't run the ball against the 49ers defense, it's not happening this season. It will not happen this season if you can't move the ball on the ground against this Niners team that I think almost everybody has had success moving the ball on this 49ers team. I am curious with Robert Saleh, the way that they've been leaning into the blitz is with man blitzes. They played cover one behind all their blitzes. Jalen Hurts has been really good against man blitzes because he throws.
Just give him a chance.
Did we lose JP?
Did we lose JP? I think we may have. He is good against man blitzes because, well, he has two great man-beating wide receivers.
All right, we can go to break if you want. I'll text JP, and then we'll sort it out on the other side of the break.
We take a break. After that, we got Packers Bears. We got to talk about a little bit of the draft order and, well, the Cash App Locks Trophy at the end. Coming up next.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
That is a rookie mistake.
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits. Every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Novocaine?
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger. My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923. New season now streaming. Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
All right, we lost JP, but we're going to try to get him back, and I'm going to put Bo on 49ers, Eagles. Get to Packers, Bears here. I think the 49ers win, though. I just – this feels more like 2023 Philadelphia Eagles team than 2024 or 2022. And we all saw what happened in 2023. I think the 49ers offensively has enough. And again, the Eagles, doesn't matter if they play bad defense. It feels like they're the exact same offense regardless. All right, Packers, Bears. I have to admit something. I'm not proud of it. I was rooting for the Bears. Oh, no, JP, you had to hear it. I was rooting for the Bears today.
Oh, no.
I had no interest. I had zero interest in the Packers playing the Eagles again. I've seen it way too many times. The last 3 games, whether it was earlier this season, was a playoff game last year, whether it was the stupid Brazil game, it just like, we get it. The Eagles are the better football team. The Packers offense the past 2 times was just atrocious. I wanted to see a rematch of the Bears. Not the least because the Packers looked like the better team both times against the Bears. Obviously took the crazy onside kick, the DJ Moore touchdown in overtime to beat them last time in Chicago. And it's just more fun. So Packers, though, are favored because, again, last 2 times they look like the better football team, even with Malik Willis out there. They're 1.5-point favorites. 46.5 points is the over-under. Some interesting notes in this one. NFC North, they're the 3rd division all-time where every single team finished at or above 500. 1934 NFL West and the 2023 AFC North, the other 2. And the Bears this season, well, they had the most takeaways in the NFL, 33, while having the fewest giveaways with 11. Only the 5th team in NFL history to do so, and the first since the 2009 Packers.
I think this game is going to be so high variance. It's going to be such a chaotic game because the way the Bears want to play on both sides of the ball, they are leaning into the high variance, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You talked about they lead the NFL in takeaways. If they're not generating takeaways, they're not going to win the game because they can't stop anybody. They don't get pass rush very much. They also can't really defend a lot of people in man coverage. So if Jordan Love is healthy in this game, I sort of think the Packers can really move the ball. And I agree. I was rooting for a Bears-Packers rematch in the playoffs because I actually think this is the Packers' best path to making the Super Bowl or to making the NFC Championship because those games they've played against the Bears have been so high variance. They've come down to a couple of plays. But I also worry because somebody's got to tackle Caleb Williams. That's the biggest thing. You have to bring Caleb Williams down. It's not about pressures anymore, getting him under pressure. It's about getting him on the ground because he's so good at evading sacks and he can make plays outside the pocket. you have to get him on the ground for negative plays. Those are negative plays that you have to go and get. Very quietly, Bears have not been that good running the ball early, which is why they find themselves in so many deficits. I wonder how the Packers are going to defend the run in this game, because that's been their issue, is that when teams get big, they can't get big with them. So this game is going to come down to which team decides to embrace the chaos a little bit more.
I think why the Packers match up so well against the Bears, and why, as a Packers fan, I think every Packers fan was rooting for the Bears today, or at least for the result that did happen, is Jordan Love's splits versus pressure, or when under pressure and not under pressure this season. Probably the biggest gap of any quarterback in the NFL. It's because, one, he's actually been like the best quarterback in the NFL when not pressured. 128.8 passer rating according to PFF. Second highest PFF passing grade, 23 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, 9.2 yards per attempt. But if you pressure him, 5 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 41.6 completion percentage, just like night and day. And so go back to like almost any of the games where the offense looks stale. It's against teams where the front four can get after the Packers front four. Well, the Bears don't have that. They have not had that all season long. They've had to survive in other manners. And so because of that, I just don't see the Bears having an answer. So if the Bears are going to win, it is going to have to be like last time, where you get some fluky plays. I mean, the Packers didn't punt in the last game against them, but still only scored 16 points. It's going to have to be some fumbles, some picks. That's how it's going to have to happen. Or just scoring a bunch of points yourself.
And I think the Bears can score a bunch of points in this game. Caleb Williams gotten a lot better as a pocket passer as the season has gone on. They have been shredding teams downfield. He has been so good attacking the deep parts of the field. You're going to get Rome Odunze back. I think Ja'Day Walker and Luther Burden really stepping up in that role in the end of the season has really helped sort of round out that receiver room. Colston Loveland's come on. I think there are going to be chances for explosives in this game, because I still sort of worry about the Packers getting pressure without Micah Parsons. Like, both these teams can't really get pressure. I think the Packers can get pressure a little bit better because they're willing to blitz more, and I think they just have more winners than the Bears. But I also think the Bears' ability to just generate takeaways is a big thing in this game. So, like I said, this game is going to be real chaotic. It's going to be, I'm honestly really going to enjoy watching this game, because it's one of the oldest rivalries in the NFL, real intense, going to be in Chicago. First time a playoff game's been in Chicago since, it feels like it's been like, was it 2019?
2018.
Was it Double Doink?
It was the Double Doink, right? I don't think they've had.
I think it might have been the Double Doink.
Yeah.
Let me see. The last Bears home playoff game. Let me see. It was
Double Doink.
It was Double Doink in 2018, because they were on the road against the Saints in 2020. So it's going to be rocking. It's going to be intense. I think this game is going to be awesome. I don't know who I'm picking in this one, so I'm not going to touch it, because both these teams are so high variance.
I'm picking the Packers. I will say, though, yes, the Packers can get more pressure. The thing they miss when Micah Parsons isn't there is the pressure does not mean anything on Caleb Williams when it's Lucas Van Ness trying to corral you, when it's Rashawn Gary trying to corral you. Now, their linebackers, if you're blitzing Edge Cooper, Quay Walker, sure, those guys can find Caleb Williams in space. No one else in this Packers defensive line besides Micah Parsons could. And that's the thing, is he's going to have time even if you pressure him, is the worry for the Packers. All right, let's get to the draft order, where the top 18 picks are set in stone for now. I did a mock draft coming out tomorrow over on CBSSports.com. Go check it out. But I say for now because this year reminds me of 2022 just in terms of the talent. We might only have one quarterback too, who ends up coming out and being a first rounder, depending on how the playoff goes for Dante Moore in Oregon. And in 2022, we set the record with 18 trades of first round picks. So draft order is set. But I would guess it's going to be like 2022 in terms of the talent in the draft class. And when there's not a lot of talent in draft class, you're going to see a lot of people willing to move on from first-round picks to go get proven players. So I think we're going to see a lot of movement before then and now. But as it stands, it's the Raiders at number 1 overall, the Jets at number 2 overall, the Cardinals at number 3, Titans at 4, Giants at 5, Browns 6, Commanders 7, Saints 8, Chiefs 9, Bengals 10, Dolphins 11, Cowboys 12, Rams at 13 from the Falcons, Bucks at 14, Jets again at 15 from the Colts, Ravens, Lions, Vikings, your top 18.
I'm so curious what Arizona does at 3, especially if Dante Moore enters. If Dante Moore enters, it's going to be QB to start first 2 picks. But Arizona at 3 is really where it starts because this tackle class isn't that great, so that takes tackle off the board. Do you take Ruben Bain there? That seems like the most logical pick, given that they still need sort of pass rush help. Given the state of their linebacker core, maybe Sonny Styles, but 3 is really high for an off-ball linebacker. Do you even like consider a luxury like Carnell Tate to really just supercharge that receiver core? I mean, Carnell Tate's speed would be such a nice added element to that offense. Do you trade back? But if you trade back, I mean, it takes 2 to tango. And if Ty Simpson is also going back to school, who's going to come up? You know, like the whole thing with like, yeah, we should just trade back. Somebody's got to be willing to come up for that. So I'm really curious what the Cardinals do at 3.
Yes, I am too. And again, that's assuming that 1, Dante Moore comes out, and 2, that the Jets want a rookie quarterback and don't want to go make a play for a veteran, you know, because that's also very much a possibility for them as well, given how many picks they have that they can move heaven and earth for a guy. But it was tough. I mean, like just from this class perspective and the top end talent in it, I think there are some top end guys. They play safety in Caleb Downs. They play running back in Jeremiah Love. They're an off-ball linebacker hybrid in Arvell Reese. They're a linebacker in Sonny Styles. And then they're a defensive end with 31-inch arms in Ruben Bain. And that is your cream of the crop. None of those guys historically screams number 3 overall pick. Right? I don't think Carnell Tate's a number 3 overall pick sort of wide receiver, but it's like, value at that position has completely shifted. You've seen how the contracts have gone, that maybe it's just worth it regardless, even if he's not historically the type of wide receiver you draft number 3 overall. You just bite the bullet and say, like, he's still a number 1 type of wide receiver. We're just going to do it. But there's no offensive tackle, you know, a position that traditionally goes top 3. There's no other defensive end I would call in that category. I ended up putting David Bailey there because I think he's going to test the best, and he finished the season with a fantastic game against Oregon, the Texas Tech defensive end. But even he, to me, is not a top 5 pick sort of prospect. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting top 10 that right now I have anyone's guess from number 3 overall is better than mine. There's no rhyme or reason to what's going to go on in this top 10.
And it gets even wackier if Dante Moore decides to go back to school. Because if Dante Moore goes back to school, the Jets are kind of screwed because you're sort of waiting for that quarterback, and you can't get him because the Raiders will take Mendoza, obviously. Dante Moore goes back to school. What do you do if you're the Jets at 2? Because again, like we said, like what the Jets needs, like you need another receiver. I don't think there's any receiver that again, what receiver are you taking at 2? Do you try and trade back? But if you're trying to trade back, who's going to trade up with you? Because all the quarterbacks are going back to school. So I'm really curious what happens in this draft class this year. It's going to be super fun.
That it is. If Dante Moore doesn't declare, you hope Trinidad Chambliss looks like a superhuman again. The next, you hope he single-handedly wins the national championship. Then maybe you have a conversation on your hands. No, I don't think he's going to end up first rounder, but he has been very intriguing. We got to end with this, JP. Had to do it to you. I'm sorry. But all season long, leading up to the playoffs, Cash App has sponsored our locks. We've tracked how we're doing each week, and it's time to see who will be taking home the Cash App Locks trophy on our Tuesday episode. If you listen to the preview, you know I came in with the clutch gene. 4-0, my first perfect week all season in the final week to bring it home. Vikings minus 7.5. The Cowboys Giants over. Tanner McKee over passing yards, and then Derrick Henry over rushing attempts. None of us got back to 50%, but hey, I'll take it.
The Cowboys screwed me.
The Cowboys did screw you.
I got screwed by the Cowboys playing their starters for one drive.
You were so close.
If
the Cowboys play their starters and you get the Michael Wilson was one target away from going over, you would have had it.
It's moments like these where it's like, man, you don't want to be caught making picks, because if you mess up 1 week, you are in the tank. And now I'm just like, I'm never going to touch any Cowboys bets ever again, because that's crazy. I was right there. And then Brian Schottenheimer decided to play Joe Milton for the rest of the game.
Should have had your Joe Milton overs.
He even went for 73 yards.
I know. I should have.
That wouldn't have worked.
Joe Milton unders. Got to give a shout out to Kyle, though. Well, one, he goes 4-2 this week, but also he called his first ever NFL game. He was on the call for Chiefs Raiders. I thought he did well. He was bringing some energy to the broadcast in a game that admittedly did not have much energy going in. I will say, I'm not going to name names, but I think we all know the names out there that have weekly spots that aren't bringing their A game week in and week out. I would love to see Kyle replace some of the, I mean, if you can, no, I was told not to bring up this guy on a previous show, so I won't bring up Mark Sanchez, but you all know the story by now. There you have it.
Let's get Kyle a primetime game. That's our new goal. Let's get Kyle to call a primetime game. Yeah.
He'll get it. Honestly, he was very good for his very first game, and he's only done one other. He only did the one college one. I was impressed. So hopefully he gets a spot next season on the regular lineup. And thank you to Cash App for sponsoring our locks all season. Tune in to Tuesday's episode where I will be presented with the Cash App Locks trophy. I'm excited to get this thing. I think it's in UPS right now. It's coming next day, Eric. We'll have it behind me. And on Tuesday, we'll be doing a little season recap, because obviously we did our preview here of next week, doing a little season recap for the year. Looking forward to some draft talk as well. Until then, keep pushing.